The recent events in San Bernardino, California, horrifying, still delving into the details of the backgrounds of these shooters, and I don't know what your first reaction was, and if you've talked with your colleagues about that moving forward, what to do.
Of course we have. We all know what a tragedy is, how heartbreaking it is to watch such carnage of such innocent people at a Christmas party. It breaks your heart to see that, and it scares people throughout the country, because that you look at that circumstance and you say that could be anybody. And I'm surprised that they're mixing words about whether or not it was terrorism. Of course it was. You look at these two individuals and their history and what they were planning, what they had in their home, and it absolutely was. The question is, how do we protect ourselves going forward? And these people actually fell through the cracks. And I've been part of secret briefings and classified briefings, and we catch a lot of these people, and they know about a great many of them. What these two individuals are doing, this married couple, was completely off the radar, and that's surprising and also concerning. But going forward, it's also a lesson, and it's hard to know how to react to this kind of thing.
Yes, a sheriff in Ulster County, New York, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but he's calling for licensed gun owners to bear their arms in public. And we're asking that as a poll question today. Would licensed gun owners want to do that in this area? It's a complicated issue, of course, gun ownership when it comes to rural areas versus more urbane areas. What are your thoughts on his comments?
Well, I don't, he can say what he likes. I don't see the point of that. I personally have a concealed weapons permit, and I've had it a long time. I'm a gun owner and a Second Amendment supporter. I think that one of the things that I've always thought is that gun owners should be the first people to figure out how to keep the guns out of the hands of the wrong people, criminals, mentally deficient people, all of that. But how do you do that and balance their Second Amendment rights? You look at the SAFE Act in New York, and it was an extreme overreach. And frankly, you go to places like Chicago, and murders are up, and they have some of the most strict gun laws in the country. So, this isn't as easy as just going around and registering people. Guns are still going to be available to criminals, and I'm open to anything that's thoughtful and reasonable, but the kind of willy-nilly response that the far left reacts the way they react to this, and other people, it is just that, a reaction. So I do believe we should thoughtfully not demagogue this issue on both sides of the aisle, but try to find realistic ways to identify people who are potential threats, keep their guns out of their hands, and the people on the no-fly list, for example, can get guns. That seems to me to be a little something we ought to be looking at. But we've had a great week in Congress. As you may know, Centro. We have a press conference about it this morning. They had an opportunity to lose over $10 million over the next 5 years, and we got together with 67 or 65 other members of Congress virtually overnight out of my office. Chuck Schumer helped, and we had that reversed in the highway bill that was signed yesterday. So
yes,
there are some good things happening.
Congratulations on that. We got the press release from Renee on that, and
what a battle that was. And I people that we work with. I mean, I'm the senior member in New York on transportation. I was able to overnight with my staff pull together all those people, put a full court press on the conferees of the highway bill, and we were able to reverse that. But I mean, locally, it would have been devastating. It was $2 million a year for Centro, and for Binghamton, it would have been another $600,000. So the highway bill, we were able also to have an amendment of mine put in there that is makes milk a non-divisible load, which may sound like gobbledygook, but it'll save your average farmer about $5,000 a year. Right now, young drivers to cross borders can't do it. You have to be 21 to get a CDL and cross borders. We've had that change to benefit the military. There are more money coming to New York State. There'd be $1.8 billion annually. It's an increase transportation investments by about 10%. So, and other things like we passed an education bill. I've been there for almost 5 years now, and we probably got more big things done this week in a single week than we've ever done. The Early Childhood Education Act passed, and that takes Common Core and makes it optional, which a lot of people are very much in favor of. There's in pre-K, I've been a big proponent of pre-K, probably the only one, unfortunately, on my side of the aisle, or one of a handful, who's willing to talk about it openly and try to find ways to pay for it. With $250 million a year for pre-K, a game changer for an individual's life to have good quality early education. So, we're just doing our jobs, and one of the reasons I'm able to do it is I try to work with everybody. I know that I get criticized for being reaching across the aisle. I find that mysterious because that's the only way you get anything done.
And that happened recently here with the situation with the power plant in Oswego, siding with the Republicans. Can you explain that a little bit for us?
Well, that actually very much supports the notion that Fitzpatrick and Mr. Katko and I were together on at least part of that, that global climate change is real, which I believe it is. Certainly I'm surrounded by a lot of people who don't believe that. I'll be blunt. I do. I think we have to react to it. We have to do it thoughtfully. We have to do it in a way that doesn't destroy our economy or make us uncompetitive. But to just willy-nilly tie the EPA's hands, and certainly there are problems with the EPA, these two resolutions of disapproval would have prevented, and people don't realize this, but I know it because I read it, would have prevented the EPA from doing anything going forward on global climate change, and I simply didn't support it. So it's not about siding with the Democrats at all. It's about doing the right thing. And I admit I was one of two people who saw that, and I'm pleased with it, and I'm confident that history and will judge me right. And frankly, when you're on the floor and you actually live there, a lot of members on my side and the other side come up to you and you say, that was a right vote, but I couldn't take it for my community. Well, that's what they do, but I find myself at odds, from time to time because I explain what I do, but I do what I think is right. I've written my office, I don't write them all, but I read them all, almost 800 vote explanations for bills that we voted on in the last 5 years. So we're transparent, we're thoughtful, and we're deliberate in what we do, and we defend it. That's kind of the best I can do, and it's what I think I owe the people I work for.
It's Congressman Richard Hanna joining us on the Talk of the Town at 100.7 FM WUTQ.
And maybe going back a little bit to the first questions that we were getting into with the mass shootings in our country, a lot of the weight being put on our president at this point. We're into this presidential race. Any idea who you would support for president, or maybe some of the ideas you support in one of these presidential candidates?
It's tough. It's tough to watch this crowd of people and feel good about the process. You look for the statesmen, the people who don't pander to either one side or the other. Part of the problem with our democracy is that we have become victims of gerrymandering. Some of these, the way the districts are drawn, some of these districts are so safe that all people have to do is go to the far left or the far right, and they get reelected. The primaries become the general election. And that's what's happened. These guys are deeply invested in keeping their jobs or think they're doing they stay there to do the right thing when they can find that opportunity. But frankly, we need a more deliberative process. We need more competition. We need people who are willing to accept ideas and compromise. That's how this country was built. And I'm a guy who joined the Republican Party, years ago, and a lot of the things that people object to that I support, like women's health care and other things, are things that used to be part of the fiber of the Republican Party. And to be blunt, I took an oath to the Constitution, not a party, and I worked for 700,000 people, not 10,000 people. I work for everybody, and you try to listen and be polite and understand, but at the end of the day, that's why we have elections. And I like the fact that I'm in a district that's well balanced, that has a pretty equal number of Democrats and Republicans that share the same concerns I do, that watch people leave the state, watch people not be able to survive here. The cost of living, the taxes. I'm a fiscal conservative, and I've watched New York State marginally go downhill since the day I got out of college. Yet I'm still here. I love the place, and I look forward to my kids being here. But that's why I'm doing this. I'm fortunate. I've been fortunate all my life in a lot of ways, and I don't need this job, but I want to take the opportunity to contribute to its growth and to the future of the country. And I look at the presidential candidates, and frankly, it's difficult to get your head around anybody.
I guess that's a good lead into the question in which, Congressman, will you run again?
We have till March to decide, and then the primary is in June. So I'm just going to take my time. I'm in no hurry. I will let you know when I let you know.
Very good. Well, transportation, a big issue. The folks from Uber were in yesterday in Utica, and you'll be, of course, instrumental with this highway bill and discussing it at the Centro Hub later today.
Yes, and I'm a supporter of Uber. I use them in Washington, and, competition is wonderful, and it's a great model for some people. I like it.
Very good. 10 a.m. is your press conference scheduled for later today. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
Yeah, all you got to do is walk downstairs. You can walk over, right?
Well, actually, we're in a different building now.
Yeah, we moved.
Yeah,
you got to drive a mile now.
Yeah, I know, a whole mile.
Yep, we're in a nice split of land right between the two bodies of water on Canal Park over here in North Utica.
I know where you are now. Hey, thanks a lot.
Come by and visit us, Congressman. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.